Okay, it is day 2 of post-shooting in Kenosha. We're still talking about the babyface killer and some of the stuff that led to it, some of the stuff that happened during it, and a whole lot of stuff about the fallout afterwards. Um, Normally I try to give you guys a whole bunch of sources for stuff. I put it all together. Now I try to point at the thing that you might not have seen or you might not know about. I think today, because there's been so much shit talking about what happened in Kenosha and so many horrible takes, misinformation, this and that, I thought I would actually roll through some of this stuff, debunk a couple of bad narratives, and then discuss the larger issue. And the larger issue is that all of these flare-ups and these incidents and large-scale protests turning into this sort of thing, it has to do with a larger macro ideological warfare is basically what it comes down to. I discuss tribalism a lot. This is all part of the tribalism. And, when you live in a society where you only have, two prevailing political parties, two prevailing ideologies, everything becomes extremely polarized and there is no middle. And this is the predictable end result of having a system like that in place for a century. So let's just roll through some of this real quick. Number one, our friend Kyle, since yesterday, there was a warrant issued for his arrest in his home state, which is not Wisconsin. He surrendered. He's being held without bail, and then he's being, quote, extradited to Wisconsin to face a murder charge, and then apparently there's other charges that are pending. So quick, I guess first debunk when people talk about charges that are being levied. They're like, oh, why isn't he facing murder one? Why isn't he facing capital this? Why isn't he facing that? In general, standard operating procedure is as a district attorney, you will file a charge that you think can very easily be proven, so that you can make the charge stick, so you can get them processed and arraigned on that charge. In this case, he's being held without bail, so it was also to keep him from fleeing. And what will happen is, as the investigation continues, they will then decide whether they do or don't have enough evidence to either file an escalated charge or additional charges. So, just to debunk anything coming out of what he's being charged with versus what he did thing. Why isn't he being charged with 180 counts of murder one? They charge you with as little as possible to stick the charge on you. Ostensibly they'll have 2 years until a trial. So they have more than enough time to sift all the video and, ask follow-up questions, obtain evidence, etc., etc. Okay. Now, I would like to go to the very start. This was the video that was shot earlier in the evening before any of the shootings happened. And this video was actually shot by a reporter from the Daily Caller, aka the Ben Shapiro network, aka the people who are funded by our good friend Tucker Carlson. So take this with a grain of salt. This is also why he definitely gave this interview. This was before he was all hyped up on the adrenaline of having killed somebody. So this was earlier in the evening, and he explains why he's there. This becomes relevant in just a moment.
What are you doing out here? Obviously you're armed and you're in front of this business we saw burning last night, so what's up?
So people are getting injured, and our job is to protect this business, and part of my job is to also help people. If there's somebody hurt, I'm running into harm's way. That's why I have my rifle, because I need to protect myself, obviously, but I also have my med kit.
What are you doing?
Okay, so Kyle states that his intended purpose for being there is to help people, and he has his handy-dandy medical bag to help anybody who might have trouble. Now, the reason why this becomes relevant is because of the video clip. This is the part where I warn you that I'm going to show a side-by-side clip of one of the incidences of shooting during the previous night in Kenosha. If you don't like watching troubling video, you don't want to be traumatized, you don't want to watch somebody get shot again, you can fast forward about 60 seconds. Okay, so this is a synced up version of two angles of the first shooting. And this gets into Kyle's previous statement. And then number 2, we're going to debunk one of the big pieces of poo flying around about this whole thing.
Hey boys. Yeah, that's Antifa, man.
Now, if you're watching this right here, do you see this? There's been talk that he threw a Molotov. Somebody threw a Molotov cocktail at Kyle. And that's why Kyle was forced to use lethal force. This is the Molotov cocktail. Again, I want you to, if you look a couple seconds before, yeah, that's a bag. That is not a Molotov cocktail. However, somebody took a still frame that looked like one of these stills here as I'm pausing, and it looks like it's on fire because the light is refracting off the bag. So, not a Molotov cocktail, and we will touch onto this a little later. As you can see, it's a plastic bag because you see him carrying it. Yeah, the guy threw a plastic bag at Kyle. That's what that was. Okay? Plastic bag.
You got a gun, baby. Oh, they shoot. Oh, he shot him. Get back. Shot him, man.
Now, as you can see, Kyle essentially ran around the cars, shot the guy, finished running around, and came back to where the person was on the ground. Now, I want you to remember a moment ago, Kyle said that his priority and his main reason for being in town was that he had his handy-dandy medical bag with him and that he was going to be there to help people who were in trouble, and that thankfully he would have his firearm with him to protect himself while he is administering aid to those who are hurt. Okay? Look, he still has his medical bag on that he proudly showed earlier. Let's see what Kyle does.
Shot him.
Kyle looks down,
Shot him, man.
looks around,
He laid him out.
takes out his... Now you're going to remember this from our previous video yesterday. He takes out his cell phone, and we believe he calls his mom.
He laid him out.
Now there's another guy comes over while Kyle's on the phone calling his mommy. This guy starts taking off his shirt, and then he administers first aid to the guy on the ground. Now, if you remember the video from yesterday, this is the part where Kyle says, "Oh shit, I just killed somebody," and runs away. Now, while he runs away, there's somebody else there administering first aid, which, if you remember, supposedly why Kyle came. Remember? He was going to help people. That's why he had the handy-dandy medical bag. Yeah, he didn't break out the medical bag once. He broke out the rifle a whole bunch of times, and he broke out the cell phone to call mommy at least once. Okay, I digress. We are assuming he called his mother, and I'm sure they will subpoena the cell phone records as part of the investigation now that he has been charged with a felony murder. So I'm sure it will come out very soon, but there have been multiple reports that his mother drove him up to Kenosha from their hometown the next state over, and I'm also going to get into why that's a thing in a couple minutes as well. But again, he's there to help people, remember? There, yeah. So the other guy who was there is helping. Now, the Molotov cocktail thing. Let's make sure that we're all 100% on this. That this is a person with a plastic bag in their hand. See this? This is a plastic bag. See? All right. Probably not the best throw. Didn't really get much distance on it. Okay. The reason I'm going to show you this is because pictures look different from different angles. I want you to notice how everything's out of whack here and it's all dark, okay? This is 2 still frame photos. Well, actually 3. This was the first person who got shot. That was the person with the bag that we just showed you throwing a bag. For those who don't know, if you go to protests a lot, bringing a Ziploc bag to put your phone and other belongings in so they don't get drenched with tear gas or pepper spray, or your own sweat, or you're not running and your phone or your keys fall out of your pocket. So in general, your best thing to do is you put everything in a Ziploc bag and you seal it, and then you take that and you put it in like a, any kind of bag that you get at like the Quickie Mart, like a plastic bag, something with handles, so you can carry it around easily while you're marching and or protesting for hours. This is pretty normal. So for the third and final time, no, he was not being chased by somebody with a Molotov cocktail. We good? I can do that thing where I move on. Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Next, we've all seen the pictures of Kyle in his little junior policeman's outfit. Some people were unsure as to whether or not that was a Halloween costume. It is not. He was enrolled in a youth police cadet program in Lake County. So he was actually in like it was like a junior policeman's program, like how they recruit people at an early age to become cops. This was his thing. He loves law and order. So a couple of notes on this article here, and this is from a local just outside of Chicago, which is actually where he lives, in a suburb on the border of Illinois and Wisconsin. Now, things of note, in case people were wondering, yes, he was a Trump supporter. He was actually at a Trump rally in January, posted a TikTok video from that rally where he was sitting in the front row, Trump 2020. And the TikTok video in question that he put up of the Trump rally, the text that he wrote on it was, "Bruh, I'm just trying to be famous." Okay? So we've now ascertained that Kyle was actually craving social media fame. He literally said it himself on a social media post from a Trump rally, pumping up Donald Trump because, bruh, he wanted to be famous. The reason I bring this up is because now he said that he wants to be famous. He said that he was there to help people, but all he did was smoke people and he actually didn't help anybody. I'm sort of getting to the root of the Kyle. Something else I wanted to point out of note in this video is that according to court records at the time of his arraignment, Kyle Rittenhouse is 5'4" and weighs 150 pounds. And he's got that baby face. And at no time during this entire thing did any police once ask him maybe to show some ID or to even find out if he was 18. Like, honestly, would you card this kid if he came into a Quickie Mart where you were working at and tried to buy cigarettes, let alone beer? I'd card this kid for cigarettes. Like, but no cop at any time chose to find out if the 5'4", 150 pound kid with the baby face was possibly old enough to own this firearm. Also, to another point, been hearing this a lot. Kyle is 17 years old. In Wisconsin, you have to be 18 years old to open carry. In his home state of Illinois, you have to be 21 to purchase and own a rifle. 18 if you have parental consent and they purchase it for you. Kyle is 17. In no way, shape, or form was he legally able to open carry a rifle, let alone in Wisconsin, the next state over. Just discussing the legality. This is just, you can look up the state laws. You have to be 18 to open carry in Wisconsin. Okay? I'm also bringing this up because it's going to become important in a moment. So this is where we get to the meat of the situation. And what I was talking about in the beginning is the ideological war, where facts no longer have meaning and all that counts is a larger ideology. This is the announcement from the press conference where the chief of police in Kenosha essentially blamed the protesters for their own death. During the Kenosha Police Department's first press conference in response to the shooting and subsequent protests, the chief blamed the unidentified victims in Tuesday night shooting for their own deaths, saying that the violence was the result of the, quote, persons involved in violating curfew. Persons who were out after curfew became engaged in some type of disturbance, and persons were shot. Everybody involved is out after the curfew. I'm not going to make a great deal of that, but the point is that the curfew is in place to protect. Had persons not been out involved in violation of that, perhaps the situation that unfolded would not have happened. This is where we're going to start talking about ideological consistency. If you want to say that people who are out after curfew were essentially lawbreakers and they were breaking the law by being out protesting after curfew, then that means Kyle and all the patriots who came were also breaking the same law. They are equally criminal. There's this belief that, when you say a victim who gets shot by the police, oh, but he had a record. So somehow, that invalidates the idea that, that person's allowed to not be executed by a cop in the streets. But we never discussed the fact that all the cops have records. We never discussed that everybody breaks laws. Like 80% of you motherfuckers would be in jail for some like weed or drug or alcohol violation at some point if there was, equal enforcement of everybody. This is just the nature of the beast. Yet somehow we use this tag of criminality to invalidate people. Okay? Well, if everybody who is out was breaking the law, then that means all the patriots were breaking the law, and that means Kyle was breaking the law. Okay? You can't have it both ways. You can't sit around and go, oh, he was protecting the thin blue line. He was for law and order. No, he wasn't. The chief of police just said he was breaking curfew, thus he was a lawbreaker. Like, you don't get to have it both ways. You can't argue both sides of the same argument. I mean, you can, but then you're just an ideologically inconsistent shitbag. Your choice. I mean, you do you. I'm fucking easy peasy, but it's crap. It's utter crap. Like, y'all have to do better. I understand the tribalism. I want my team to win. I get it, but if you're willing to bag all forms of logic, if you're unwilling to concede things that actually happened, then all your shtick is just marketing. Like, be an actual human being. You can turn around and say somebody broke the law. It's all right. I know he's a patriot. He's a hero. He broke the law, right? Just like the protesters broke the law. In describing the shooting of two protesters, the chief of police also declined to call it a homicide and instead referred to it by various euphemisms also used to describe killings by a police officer. The shooter was, quote, involved in the use of firearms to resolve whatever conflict was in place. Again, this is marketing. How come some people are called thugs, other people are called heroes? How come when a cop gets shot, it's an execution by a vigilante, but when a cop shoots somebody else, it's a incident where firearms were forcefully discharged? Why is that? I mean, I know why, obviously, because the police are trying to market it and make it sound not as bad. But again, this is why people protest the police. This is why people don't give a fuck about fucking cops. Because it's bullshit. Because they try to pad everything and make it sound like everything the police do is cool. But when you do the same exact shit that the cops do, oh my God, it's the end of the world. Again, keep in mind, all these police, they have records. They've all been reprimanded. They've all lost vacation days and bonuses because they planted evidence, because they've assaulted people, because they've illegally arrested people, because they've stalked their ex-wife, whatever the fuck the reason is. They all have records too. You have to be ideologically consistent. If you're going to be concerned with the criminal record of, some black person who got shot, but hey, the police had to be on their tippy toes because they knew this guy was a violent offender with a record. All the fucking cops are violent offenders who have records, yet somehow you're not willing to concede that people need to be frightened of them in the same way apparently the police need to be frightened of all the violent criminals. You don't get to have it both ways. Pick one. Go with it. Be ideologically consistent, and then at least people will be willing to engage with you and have conversations with you. This is what else the police chief said. Across the nation, there have been armed civilians who've come out to exercise their constitutional right and to potentially protect property. Am I aware that groups exist? Yes, but they weren't invited to come. I'm sorry, a constitutional right to potentially protect property? That's not a thing. You have the constitutional right to protect your property, and the police have the constitutional obligation to protect private property. But in no way, shape, or form is anybody in America just allowed to pick up a gun and then go somewhere else and form an armed border around it under the auspices of protecting it. Because I assure you, the first time 50 black Muslims with AR-15s go and just surround a Catholic church and go, oh, we're just here protecting it, I'm sure y'all are going to be more than fine with that, right? Come on.